Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up a content group in Google Analytics 4. So there are times in your analytics where you might want to be able to look at your metrics for particular groups of content that share some kind of characteristics together rather than having to look at each individual page. So for example, you might have a series of events pages on your website. You want to be able to cluster together all of the metrics that relate to those pages. Or you might have an e-commerce store and you want to be able to look at the analytics for all of your shop pages or all of your blog pages or something like that. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. And we're going to use this website here as an example. So if we have a look, there's two particular kinds of content that we're going to track on this website. So first of all, you can see over here they have events. So I click into the events archive. First of all, you can see that the URL up here in the top left-hand corner has changed and it's got the word events in it. And then each one of these individual events also has event in the URL. So I'm going to use that to cluster together to create a new content group for every page that has the word event in the URL like that. And then the other group is going to be any page that has the word blog. So again, if I click on some of these are individual blog posts. Each one of them, as you can see, has the word blog in the URL. Just show you one more. There's another one. Here's the word blog. So that's going to be the way that we create our content group, using clustering together all of the content that has event in the URL and all of the content that has blog in the URL. So then we'll be able to see all of the performance of the event pages as one group and all of the performance of the blog pages as one group. The method I'm going to show you is Google Tag Manager. So we're assuming that you're using Google Tag Manager to insert your GA4 tags into your website. So I'm in the Google Tag Manager container for the website that I was just looking at, and there's a few stages to this. So the first thing that we need to do is create a new variable in Google Tag Manager, which is going to be our different content groups. So I'm clicking on variables and we are going to scroll down to user defined variables and select new. So we'll give our variable a name. We're going to call it content group. And then we are going to choose the type. What type of variable is it that we're creating? So if I click on that, for this, we're going to use a regex table as the way that we create our variable. So we click on that. And it says now, what is the input variable that you're going to use to create your new variable? And we are going to use page path. So if you remember, we looked at the website and we were going to separate out content, the pages that had event in the page path and the pages that had blog in the page path. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to create a regex table that says, look at the page path, and if you see the word event, create a variable event, and if you see the word blog. So we're going to add a row to our regex table. And so the pattern is the thing that we're going to be searching for in the URL, and the output is how we want that to appear when it's listed in our Google Analytics. So this is a very simple example. You can do obviously significantly more complicated things than this with regex tables, but we're going to use a very simple example just to start with. So we're looking for the pattern blog, and when that appears, we want to create the output. This is what we'll see in our Google Analytics of blog, and the same with event. So this would pick up any page that has the word event in it. And also, you might remember the overall events page had events, plural, but it would still be picked up by this because it's got event, and that's the output there. So you could keep going with this and create more rows for different kinds of content if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use these two examples here. We're also going to set a default value of other. So this is what would show if a particular page doesn't fall into either one of those two categories. Let's just have a look at the advanced settings. So we're going to keep this ignore case checked. So I want this to track instances of blog and event irrespective of whether they're uppercase, lowercase, or some combination. I'm going to untick full matches only and enable capture groups and replace functionality. These are Google's recommendations for how to configure this. And then I'm just going to click save. So we have, as you can see here, created a new user-defined variable of content group. So the next thing we do, having created that new variable, is add it to our Google Analytics configuration tag. So I'm clicking on tags here, and you can see here we've got Google Analytics GA4 configuration. So that's the tag that is inserting the GA4 code onto the website. So if I click on that, then the next stage is to click on tag configuration. And here in fields to set, we're going to add a row. So it's going to create a new field in Google Analytics. We're going to call that content underscore group, all lowercase. So this will be the name of the field that we see in Google Analytics. And then the value is going to be pulled through from the variable that we've just created, which is, if we put in the double curly brackets, you can see it's here, content group. And then we are going to click save. And the final stage then is to check that it's working the way that we want it to work. So to do that, we're going to click on preview up here, and we'll enter a URL. So I've got one here already that we want to test. So I want to check that any visits to one of these pages that has event in the URL is going to be tracked as being part of my new events content group. So I've put the URL in here and I click connect. It's going to open up a new window. So you can see here a new debugging window. And I go back to the preview and click continue. Then I click on consent initialization, and I'm going to click here on variables. And if I scroll down, you can see that content group, variable type, regex table, returning the value of event for this particular URL. So that is working as I would want it to. So I'm going to close that, stop debugging, and then we could also, sorry, I'm going to close the tag assistant and go back to the tag manager. We could also check another one if we wanted to be sure. So if I go back to my website and pick up one of my video guide URLs, this one for example, which has the word blog in it, go back to tag manager, I click on preview, I enter the new URL that I want to check and click connect. It's going to open up the window. It's fine, there it is. Go back to the preview and click continue. Same as before, click on consent initialization and then variables. And this time we can see down here, we've got content group firing this time the value of blog. So we know that this is working the way that we want it to. So we close down, stop debugging, and go back to our tag manager. So when you're happy that the changes are working the way that you want them to, you click submit. And then, as always with tag manager, you will give your changes a title, a version name, something that describes what it is that you've done, and a bit of a detailed description of what you've done. So I might say I've added a content group variable, and the description might be created new content group variable tracking event and blog pages. When I'm happy with that, I click publish, and then it will be live. And so the next step then would be to wait 24 hours and track back in the Google Analytics to see if you're getting any traffic through to those pages and start configuring reports that use that variable. So the final stage of this process is just to double check that our new content group dimension is coming through in Google Analytics. So I'm in the Google Analytics account for this particular organization, and I'm going to have a look here in the engagement drop down at the pages and screens reports. So we can see here by default this is showing us the content listed by page title and screen class. If I drop that down, I've now got content group as an additional dimension that I can access. So this is new. It's created, as you can see, just yesterday. It's only been tracking for 1 day, and it's showing me the page views and so on according to the different the different content groups that I set up in the Tag Manager account. So I hope very much that you found that useful. If you did, we've got more Google Analytics videos over on our website. Here's the address, and we also have Google Analytics training webinars and other things coming up that you might find useful. Thanks very much for watching.